Get ready for some spoilers. Okay, this is my spoiler review of Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Though I hate to call it a review, it's more my personal thoughts and feelings as a Star Wars fan for the past 38 years. I did a spoiler-free review last week, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. So if you haven't seen the movie, I'm warning you one last time. Turn this video off, go see it now, and then come back and see what I think about it. So here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Kylo Ren is Han Solo and Leia's son. And he kills his daddy. That's right, Han Solo's dead. Rest in peace, you old scoundrel. Now that that's out of the way, let's dig in. Right off the bat, I got a little tingle when I saw the Lucasfilm logo. And it wasn't as weird as I thought it was going to be, not hearing the 20th Century Fox fanfare play. So then we get to the opening crawl, and the very first line, Luke Skywalker has vanished. I was like, what the f***? Now over a year ago I had heard a rumor that the movie was going to be about the search for Luke, but I also heard that someone found Luke's old lightsaber, still in his severed hand that Darth Vader cut off in Cloud City. Thankfully this was not the case, but I thought the idea was intriguing. And then the next line, in his absence, the sinister First Order has risen from the ashes of the Empire. How long has Luke been gone? 5 years? 10 years? Then we go down a few more lines and see, with the support of the Republic, General Leia Organa, she's a general now, which is cool, leads a brave resistance. So they're supported by the Republic, but they're not a part of the Republic? This confused me as to, what happened after the events of Return of the Jedi 30 years ago? I mean, we saw the Death Star blow up with the Emperor on board, and you just assumed that was the end. But, I've read some of the comics and know that there were some splinter groups out there that, the New Republic had to kind of mop up. But I found an interesting article online that spelled the whole thing out. Apparently, the Republic battled these different factions for a while, and then eventually they signed a peace treaty. So then, when the First Order arose, they couldn't openly fight them because that would break the treaty with the Imperial remnants they had. So they secretly funded the resistance. But none of this is in the movie, so, if you didn't do your homework, you don't really know what's going on. I wish they could have added a couple lines here or there just to kind of spell it out a little more. God, did I just wish that there's more politics in a Star Wars movie? So, moving on. The crawl fades out, and the camera pans down to the planet Jakku, which then a Star Destroyer comes in from the side and completely blacks out the planet. That's a really cool opening shot. And from here, it's pretty much non-stop for the next 30 minutes. We first meet the feisty little droid BB-8, and from the moment I saw him, I knew he wasn't going to be another Jar Jar Binks. He comes across as a real character, not comic relief. I mean, he's cute and funny, but he can definitely get the job done too. Very much the new R2-D2. Then we see Poe Dameron as he meets with Lor San Tekka to get the little piece of map to lead to Luke Skywalker. I thought Oscar Isaac did great as Poe, and I hate that we saw so little of him. I mean, he's pretty much gone after the 20-minute mark, and then he's gone for almost a whole hour, and then after that, you don't see a lot of him. But he's going to be in the next movie, so I have hopes that he'll have a bigger part. Then we meet Finn, or FN 2187, which is the reason he doesn't have a last name, because Poe gives him the name Finn from FN. And a little bit of trivia, 2187 was also the cell block that Princess Leia was in on the Death Star. Now, I like John Boyega, but I really didn't see much of a reason for there to be Finn in the movie. I like the idea of a stormtrooper going rogue, but to me he came off more as a convenient plot device, comic relief, and mostly as a red herring because marketing had pretty much set him up as Luke Skywalker's new apprentice. But I did like the camaraderie between he and Poe during their escape from the Star Destroyer, during which, did anyone catch the Wilhelm scream by one of the troopers? Well, hopefully Finn will have more to do in the next movie. From Finn, we move on to Captain Phasma. Now, this was my biggest disappointment. She's barely in the movie. I mean, I had predicted that she was going to be the Boba Fett of this movie. That, you know, she's really cool, but it was only going to have a few lines. And pretty much that's what happened. Ironically, she actually has more lines in the 10-minute Funny or Die Christmas special spoof than she does in the entire movie of The Force Awakens. As does Constable Zuvio, who, did anyone actually see Constable Zuvio in this movie? Not me. But anyway, I think that they could have done more with Captain Phasma. Like the scene during the battle at Maz Kanata's castle, they could have had Phasma be the trooper with the lightning thing, whatever, that battled with Finn, instead of just having some random trooper that we didn't know. Anyway, next we have Kylo Ren. Now, Ren comes across very cool to start off with. I love how he freezes Poe Dameron's laser blast right in midair. And I like how he just randomly loses his shit and, you know, destroys things with his lightsaber. Could he be a little whiny at times? Yeah, but not so much that it bothered me. I think his coolness factor dropped a little bit after he took his mask off, but I did like that when he took his mask off, he was just a normal dude. He wasn't like some hideously deformed guy. I also liked his adversarial relationship with General Hux. I mean, there were times you could just, you know, see him looking back at each other and tell, you could tell they hated each other. I thought Daisy Ridley did a superb job as Rey. I mean, she's dumped off on Jakku as a child to fend for herself while she waits for her family to return. And I loved how she lived in an old AT-AT. Now, as to her parentage, Maz Kanata pretty much spelled it out that she was a Skywalker. You know, she said that the lightsaber had called to her as it called to Luke and to his father. And then there's the fact that Kylo Ren seemed to have so much interest in her, even before he met her. And then there was that big hug from Leia, whom she presumably had never met. Though all this kind of seems a little too easy to me. I mean, it might just be a smoke screen they're throwing at us. Guess we'll learn more in the next movie. Now at the 30-minute point, that's kind of where it slowed down for me, where we meet Han and Chewie. Now don't get me wrong, I love them both. I just didn't like the whole Raptar subplot there. After seeing such good practical aliens, the CG ones just really stood out to me. I also didn't get why Han and Chewie were at Jakku. I mean, did they just happen to stumble onto the Falcon as they were on their way to deliver the Raptars? It just seemed a little bit clunky to me. As for Han, he was pretty much the same character from the original trilogy, and I was surprised that he got so much screen time. And I actually thought that Chewbacca came off as a better character in The Force Awakens than he did in the original trilogy. Leia, 3PO, and R2 didn't get much screen time, but I thought they were used pretty well. And I loved how Leia felt Han's death through the Force. Now, for the most part, I liked the movie, but there were, you know, a few issues. Like, you know, the fact that it's basically the same plot as A New Hope. A robot on a desert planet carrying secret data meets up with a young hero who encounters a wise elder and must save the galaxy from a planet-destroying superweapon. Where have we seen that before? But you know, the similarities really didn't bother me too much. You don't really notice them while it's going on. And I can kind of see why they played it safe and went with kind of a familiar plot. Because, I mean, they're trying to pull in not only seasoned fans like me, but also new fans. I also wasn't a fan of some of the CGI, especially the Raptars, as I mentioned earlier. They just looked bad. I felt that Snoke and Maz Kanata looked a little out of place too. And Rey's force powers seemed to come out of nowhere, didn't they? I mean, I assume that she used the Force when she was flying the Falcon, because she said she wasn't sure how she had done it. Now, this doesn't bother me. It's like Anakin in the pod race. She was just using this latent power that she didn't realize that she had. But to do a Jedi mind trick when she has probably never even seen one done, that just seemed like a bit of a stretch to me. I have a theory, though, that when Kylo Ren was probing her mind and she fought back, she gleaned some ability to use the Force from him. I mean, maybe it was unconscious, but, you know, it'd be awfully coincidental that her Force ability got that much better that quickly after that happened. Of course, this is just a theory, and it might turn out being a stupid one, you know, just like the one that Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord. Anyway, I also didn't get off the bat why there was a map to Luke Skywalker. I mean, if he was trying to disappear, why would he leave a map to where he was? So they could forward his mail? I don't know. But then I got to, after I watched it the second time, I realized that it's probably not a map to Luke per se. He said he was going to find the first Jedi Temple, so I think it's actually a map to the first Jedi Temple. I also had a problem with R2-D2 conveniently turning on at the end there and having the rest of the map. But even with all these little bits and bobs that I didn't like, for the most part, I really did enjoy it. And I actually would rank it probably just below Empire and A New Hope, probably even with Return of the Jedi. I plan to watch it many more times in the future, and I'm really looking forward to Episode 8 coming out in a year and a half, and Rogue One in only a year. Back in my day, we had to wait 3 years between Star Wars movies. Isn't it a great time to be a Star Wars fan?